Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of HardFoul Radio. This is the show that values time and puts God first. Let's get started. We are breaking down again, going team by team, AFC, NFC South this week. Today is Tuesday, so we're at the third place team for both. So let's start with the Indianapolis Colts. Here's the thing with the Colts. You're going into year two of how much do you believe in Daniel Jones. Year one looked like it was off to a great start. You had the best record in the league. Your offense was on fire. You were scoring on everybody. It was fantastic. It obviously all broke down, coinciding with the injury of Daniel Jones. And now, for all the quarterbacks that are coming off an injury, and we're like, what can they do? We obviously have, if we're going to put the utmost confidence, it's going to be in Mahomes. He's going to bounce back from the injury. He's still going to be great. That's the guy at the top of the list bouncing back from an injury. Daniel Jones, I think, is a far cry from Mahomes bouncing back from an injury. Daniel Jones, again, we have basically a full season of Daniel Jones being a productive NFL quarterback. You take that 1 year with the Giants, even though he only had 15 touchdown passes the whole year, but the second half he played much better, leading them into the playoffs, and then we have the first half of last year. So you got 1 year of a guy who it's like, okay, we think he can play, we think he's a franchise quarterback. Now, Shane Steichen, this is a you story, because Shane Steichen, this is the other half of the Colts story, like it's how well can Daniel bounce back off an injury. It's also Shane Steichen, you're going to go from brilliant offensive mind, look at how well your team's performing, to you're going to be on the hot seat much quicker than you would think if the Colts get off to a slow start. The Colts invested a lot, not just in Daniel Jones, who got paid, Sauce Gardner, who they traded multiple draft picks for, who already had a big contract, Alec Pierce. Like, the Colts have invested in, this is going to be our roster. These are the guys we have. This is our core for the next handful of years. And Shane, can you get it done with these guys? You got a lot of guys who it's like, is Sauce on the upward or downward part of his career? An amazing rookie season. We've seen declines ever since then. Daniel Jones, I just said, we got 1 year of football. And Alec Pierce, while a great deep threat, also chose the right time to play football for a guy that's only going to catch 50 passes a season. He got paid. Jones has been paid. Sauce has been paid. Quentin Nelson, who is an all-time great guard, but he's just on the other side of 30. You see some of his production go down. Like, what is this Colts team going to look like? I've heard a lot about the Eagles. The Eagles are like the biggest boom or bust team in the league this year to a lot of people. That between Sirianni and Hurts, we don't know what it's going to look like if they get off to a slow start, if they have a bad season. The Colts are the AFC version of the Eagles. What if Daniel Jones doesn't perform like he did last year? What if Sauce Gardner has truly declined to the point of he is not a top 5, top 10 corner anymore? What if Daniel Jones isn't succeeding, what about Alec Pierce? Is this defense going to be able to keep up? There's a lot more questions with the Colts. Yes, could everything work out? Could Shane Steichen truly be an offensive genius? Yes. And could that get Daniel Jones to play like he did at the beginning of last year? Absolutely, that's possible. Could Daniel Jones also, for the second time in his career after getting paid, fall back to being the same player he was? And you got to think about the Colts. This division's tougher now. It's not – the AFC South and the NFC South historically both for the last decade plus have been pretty weak. Houston and Jacksonville are real teams in the AFC South. Trevor Lawrence – what the Jaguars have with Liam Cohen, like, they have a real team. I know they've lost some players, but that's a real team. The Houston, we know what that defense is like. Now, they also have quarterback issues. We got to see how C.J. Stroud, if he can bounce back. But that defense is legitimately top 2, might be the best defense in the NFL. So you got your work cut out for you if you're Shane Steichen. Now, I believe in Shane. I think Shane is a really good head coach. I also think there's just natural limitations that come with Daniel Jones. And I know there's a handful of quarterbacks that we view as really good rosters, but not quite as talented. I root for a team that people claim has one. But the difference between Daniel Jones and Bo Nix is We've seen Daniel Jones several years. There's a reason why he was cut by the Giants. Like Jalen Hurts, who's another one of those, again, I'm calling them the AFC version of the Eagles. Jalen Hurts has never been cut. Jalen Hurts has never been traded. Jalen Hurts has never been thrown to other teams and say, hey, take this league minimum deal for a veteran and see if we can bounce back and revive. Like, these guys have just, yes, they have really talented rosters, and they've had to play up to the talent of that roster to have success. Otherwise, they'd be gone. Daniel Jones has already gone through that part. He's already gone through the, hey, play well or you're going to be gone. He's been gone before. So, and I think Sauce is regressing, even though he's still young enough where he can bounce back. Alec Pierce is a good player. I don't know, again, cap allocation, you paid a lot of money for him. Now you gave up multiple first round picks, so you're not going to have theoretically a huge contract coming up next to sign, but is this defense, which obviously was good last year but broke down, this offense, which was great at the beginning of last year but then broke down, some of that due to injury obviously. But I think the Colts, I could see them anywhere from, again, how they looked at the start of last season when they were you could argue, the best team in football, to I could see this all imploding on them. The contracts look really bad, and the Colts are in cap hell with no draft picks. They are my biggest boom or bust team in the AFC, without a doubt. Let's move over to the NFC South, where the Falcons would probably take Daniel Jones, because the Falcons are, man, we're going to see, there's a couple of teams that fit this bill. The Falcons are probably the best when it comes to, it's an offensive story versus a defensive story. How many great offensive players can you put around a quarterback to elevate them to be successful? A lot of times when you see limited quarterbacks, usually the defense is the more stacked side of the football. So you see lesser quarterback play, but you see great defenses. The Falcons just spent a bunch of money this offseason. Kyle Pitts got paid. Drake London got paid. Bijan Robinson got paid. All these guys, extremely talented. They are great players. Bijan's probably top 2, top 3 at the position at worst. Drake London's a legitimate Pro Bowl plus wide receiver. And Kyle Pitts finally played up to the level of tight end that he was thought to be coming out of the draft and gave you top 5 production. Not saying he's top 5 yet, but he gave you top 5 production last year. You've invested in the offensive line. The defense is a little shaky. You bring in Kevin Stefanski. But at the end of the day, we're still sitting here going, your 2 quarterback options are Michael Penix and Tua Tagovailoa. I apologize, Tua. I didn't mean to intentionally. I struggle saying his name. I'm not trying to be funny. But between Tua and Michael Penix, you have 2 guys who nobody really has a ton of confidence going into. Michael Penix, between injury and performance, and everybody knows I love the 2024 draft class. When people put up graphics now for the 24 class, we just don't even include Michael Penix and J.J. McCarthy anymore. They're not included. You have fallen off a graphic from your own draft class 2 years out. And Tua, as somebody who's a fan of a team that took the biggest cap hit in NFL history for releasing their star quarterback, the Dolphins took that and said, you know what? We're going to follow the model. They cut Tua, took the largest cap hit ever, and Miami's like, yeah, but we're fine with our decision. Both are injury prone. Neither of them are super dynamic. I like Penix has a better arm than Tua. Tua's accurate, but how much does that accuracy help when it feels like you are accurate in terms of your percentage, but you are limited to the kind of throws you can make? This Falcons team, there's real talent here. And this is different from the Daniel Jones thing. Excuse me. Rough morning. Daniel Jones proved he can succeed in Shane Steichen's offense. The Falcons are in a position where neither of these 2 have proven they can play in Kevin Stefanski's offense. Now, Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time coach of the year, and maybe there's already something in place where they're like, hey, look, if this doesn't work out, and early on it looks like it doesn't work out, if we get a rookie quarterback and this draft class coming up is loaded, The Falcons might be a team you see. I don't want to put tanking out there on anybody, but this would be a team where if you could go get one of those prized quarterbacks out of Oregon, obviously Arch Manning's going to be the number one name. Excuse me. If you go get one of those guys, you start your rookie year with a good offensive line, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. Like the Falcons, maybe they're secretly playing the long game. They're like, hey, look, if Penix works, awesome. But if he doesn't work and Tua doesn't work, we're going to go get a guy. Now, it would make Michael Penix, and this is a little unfair because he should have really never been drafted this position. It's going to make him look like one of the worst draft picks of all time. When you already had a quarterback, and I get it, Kirk Cousins was not long for Atlanta, and he did not pan out, and he started playing bad. But when Atlanta had other needs, and they had Kirk Cousins under contract, selecting Michael Penix, and we all didn't understand it the night of. Some people tried to make the case. I even did a little bit to be like, hey, look, maybe you are preparing for the future, and you didn't feel like you were gonna be better than a bottom 5 teams. You weren't gonna have a chance to draft the quarterback you wanted. But it was weird, and if it doesn't work out, it's objectively an awful pick. And you doubled down on that you drafted another player in these last 2 years, and because of legal issues, he's not going to be there. I would think. It's the NFL. You never know who gets to come back. But he's a POS, and so we'll see what that legal situation turns out to be. So Atlanta has all the offensive talent in the world, but you're going into this in a division that's not stacked with quarterbacks. Like Tyler Shuck, we talked about him with the Saints. We like him, but he's going into a second year. Bryce Young, it may be the most hit and miss quarterback in the NFL. A lot of people like him. A lot of people don't like him. He's been very up and down. Some days he looks really good. Other days he looks like he's a high school quarterback. And I'm not just talking about his height. And Baker, who I think is clearly the best quarterback in that division. But like that's a weak quarterback division, and you're running 4th and 5th place for your starting quarterback. That's a bad spot to be in, even with the talent. So Atlanta is just it's confusing to me almost. Like, why are you invested so much in offense? Do you think you can turn into how a lot of people view Tua's time in Miami, where Tua was at his best when you gave him Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert, and you had a good offensive line. You had Mike McDaniel, who was a play caller. That's the formula Atlanta's trying to follow. And it worked for Miami for a few years. I'd be a little hesitant because that entire team, coaches, players, etc., are all now on different teams. And outside of Jalen Waddle, Achane resigned. But Mostert's on a different team. Waddle's on a different team. Hill is currently out of the league. Mike McDaniel's now an offensive coordinator who was fired from being a head coach. But that's who you're trying to be. You're trying to be the flashy Miami Dolphins. Now you're in a dome. That helps. We'll see, man. I'm predicting tough seasons for both these teams, the Colts and the Falcons. Don't be surprised if this time next year we're looking at them and they're in similar spots, 3rd place, if not even down one more spot to 4th place. A lot more to talk about today. Excited to be back. This is HardFoul Radio, back momentarily.